Last year, I uploaded 7 of the most evil musicians. As the title suggests, I discuss some deplorable, disgusting, and horrifying acts committed by famous and not-so-famous musicians that range from someone paying to have their wife killed to a cult leader who ordered his followers to murder innocent people. Naturally, there was no way I could stop at just one video, as there are obviously far more artists out there that belong on a list like this. Unlike the last video, you'll see that there's a common theme throughout for exactly why they are on this list. Anyway, you've all waited long enough for a new video from me, so I'm just going to get right into it. Here are 6 more of the most evil musicians. Also, no, Gigi Allen isn't on this list. Deal with it. This video is going to start with several musicians you have most likely never heard of, but I assure you, they are musicians, and they are most definitely evil. Cassius Povey is a 29-year-old guitarist and singer from Lincolnshire, England, who played in local bands in the area. While he never achieved any commercial success due to never being signed to a record label, and as such released all his music through streaming services, he was fairly popular in the local area, and as the lead guitarist of all the bands he played in, Cassius naturally found himself attracting a significant female fan base. He obviously enjoyed the attention he received from these young girls, and would often talk to them online through Facebook, with the girls obviously being thrilled at having received attention from their favorite guitarist. Cassius, of course, enjoyed this attention as well, as he was only in his late teens to early 20s at the time. As you can probably guess though, he realized he could use these young girls' admiration for him to his advantage. He would begin talking to these girls more and more, eventually becoming friends with them and gaining their trust. This obviously led to him grooming them, completely taking advantage of the young and impressionable girls, the youngest of whom was apparently only 13 years old. He would ask to meet them in person, to which the girls gladly accepted, no doubt thrilled that they were going to meet their favorite guitarist, who by that point had become their friend. Unfortunately, his intentions were far from pure. He would meet these teenage girls and commit terrible acts on them, the kind that would scar them for the rest of their lives. And he did this with many girls for 6 years. One of his victims even became pregnant and had an abortion without telling her parents. She was only 14 years old. It wasn't until 2020 when Meg Foley, one of his victims, finally spoke out against him in a Facebook post.
Meg was still at school when Povey persuaded her to perform sexual acts online after grooming her for months on end.
He was very charismatic. He literally just added me on Facebook one day. He just added me on Facebook and he started a conversation and he made out that he thought I was like 19 or 20. I blatantly wasn't. I was 12. I was being bullied in school, and he would make you feel you were special. He made me feel like I had friends. He introduced me to all these different people that were way older than me. I felt cool, you know. And he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly how to manipulate people. He knew how to make people like him. The thing that bothers me the most about this is not so much what he did, but how accepting his friends were, of his actions. None of them said a word. People knew who he was and people knew what he did. Nobody said anything. This wasn't something that was a secret.
Why did you decide to out him?
Because he deserved it. Somebody needed to say something, because, God forbid, if he'd have carried on doing this for 10 more years, there would have been so many more people.
Cassius was arrested following the post, and in court, it was revealed that, upon meeting his victims, he would give them alcoholic drinks that he had spiked before assaulting them, with almost all of his victims having been under the age of 16. In total, Cassius was charged with 19 assaults. The court heard how he mainly targeted vulnerable females with mental health problems and difficult relationships at home.
He made himself like an idol at Clock Tower. It's him, it's Cassius Povey. Like, oh my God, Cassius is here, everyone stop what you're doing. Found out everything about me first, and then when I was at my most vulnerable and I needed him, he then used that against me.
Kate felt vulnerable because she'd split up with her boyfriend. Povey spiked her drink, she says, then nailed her at his flat.
Now it's kind of messed me up for life, because now I'm sitting here with severe depression, PTSD. I haven't been able to get a job or have a stable relationship. Like, I'm a walking, talking nightmare.
Cassius showed no remorse for what he had done, with the judge stating, quote, "All of the victims in this case have found you to be manipulative and cunning, and I have found that this is the type of person that you are. He was found guilty of 7 assaults, 1 against a woman aged over 16, and 6 against girls between 13 and 15, and he was sentenced to 17 years in prison and registered as a sex offender for life. With his imprisonment, any chance he had of ever having a career in the music business has been completely destroyed, but that's certainly for the best. If he had ever become a famous musician, there's no telling how far his reach would have extended, and how many women he would have harmed.